Excuse me. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Village of Gurnee Planning and Zoning Board for this Wednesday, May 15th, 2024. Can we have roll call, please?
Campbell. Morgan.
Here.
Nordhoff. Cap.
Here.
Mazak. Ware.
Here.
Present. We do have a quorum. If everyone would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
States of America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from our meeting that was held back on April 17th. Does anybody have any questions or comments? If not, a motion to approve as submitted would be in order.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Paff,
Second.
second by Ms. Ware. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item is a public hearing for 4015 Grove Avenue, a zoning map amendment. Tracy.
Sure. The applicant, Imports Unlimited, is requesting a zoning map amendment to rezone 4015 Grove Avenue from C2 Community Commercial as a planned unit development to I2 General Industrial as a planned unit development. The applicant is interested in establishing a major vehicle repair service facility on the property. The use is not allowed as either a permitted use or a special use under this underlying C2 district, but is allowed by right in the underlying I2 zoning district, subject to 5 specific use standards which were provided to the applicant. The subject property was originally zoned I2 PUD as part of the Gurnee Center for Commerce and Industry in the 1970s. In 2017, the property was rezoned to C2 PUD to accommodate a daycare center. The daycare center never materialized, and the property has been vacant and for sale ever since. Following are the surrounding land uses and zoning districts. To the north, I2 PUD, which is a commercial parking lot. To the west is C2 PUD, Associated Bank office building. To the east is I2 PUD, has an ambulance service and clothing wholesaler, and to the south, across from a street, is R6 zoning with a multifamily residential apartment buildings. The village's comprehensive land use plan, Compass 2040, reflects an industrial land use classification for this property. The requested I2 PUD zoning is consistent with the original zoning classification, compatible with the surrounding zoning district and land uses and the village's comprehensive land use plan. The site has infrastructure in place to accommodate industrial zoning with a fully improved lot and access from Delaney Road via a traffic signal. There was some discussion with the applicant about whether to request straight I2 or I2 PUD. Since there are covenants recorded for this property that mirror the planned unit development standards, specifically setback, signs, and building height, that the applicant would be held to these standards, it was decided to keep the planned unit development attached for consistency. The applicant is here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Actually, we have 3 separate public hearings this evening, so if anyone is here for any of those public hearings, I'd kindly ask you to please stand if you intend to make comments or ask questions and be sworn in for any of the 3.
Or if you even think that you're going to be.
Yeah.
So stand, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Great, thank you. At this time, I'll turn the floor over to the petitioner. So if you could please use the microphone at the center of the room.
Hi, I'm Adam Kingsley, and with me is Dave Shade. Dave is the contract purchaser of the property and will be operating the specialized repair facility if the zoning is approved. Dave, could you come up and tell the board about your planned operations and why you picked this particular site?
I have a business now that I operate in Highland Park. I've been there for 30 years. I lost my lease at that location, or kind of pending, he needs the property back. So we were looking for a place that was easy access from the highway. I have a lot of people from the North Shore. We've been in business, like I said, I was incorporated in 1977. We do kind of high-end English cars, Land Rover, Jaguar, and then I also run a vintage shop on the side. That's why we need the I2 classification for major work. We don't do body work or any of that kind of stuff. It's just a mechanical shop. And we thought this would be the perfect location because from Delaney and 41, it's just a minute and you'll find it. Other places we looked at were kind of buried and kind of hard to get to, so this looks perfect for us.
And obviously, we've got to go through the.
Sir, you need to get closer to the microphone.
Oh, yeah, we've got to go through the building permit process, but just in general, kind of what type of facility do you envision for this site?
It's a 7,000 square foot building that fits within the guidelines of everything there, the height, the setbacks, the this and that, plenty of parking. It'll have 14 bay doors, 11 on the back, 3 on the front for easy access, you know, and all the modern and required things that need to be done.
And just in terms of the rezoning itself, I don't really have a lot to add to what Tracy said. Again, this was zoned I2 PUD as part of the surrounding industrial park. It was rezoned in the hopes that there'd be some kind of daycare center. That fell through. So essentially, we're taking this back to the zoning that had been there for, you know, for many years, and it's consistent with the CCRs that are baked into the property. So that's the I2 PUD, and it has the same limitations and constraints as the CCRs. So and we've determined that that's going to work for the site plan. So I don't know if you have any questions for us, but that's the presentation that we've got.
Okay, thank you. At the risk of being redundant, I mean, we're basically reverting back to a condition when that particular development was put in place. And I just want to remind the commissioners that we're solely here to deal with whether the zoning is permitted or not. We're not dealing with a specific use, easy for me to say. So does anybody have any questions? Yes, Dave?
I guess my question revolves around I2 versus I2 PUD, and it relates primarily to the setbacks with the rear property. So that portion of the property backs up to a residential use. And so with the PUD, it's less restrictive in terms of particularly the building setback from that rear property line. And so you just mentioned that you have 11 bays to the rear of the property that would be to the residential side. So I'm envisioning, you know, hot summer day, the bays are all open, pneumatic tools are running and whatnot. So, and again, sound travels, right? So whether it's 15 feet or 40 feet, you know, maybe that's inconsequential, but I'm just raising it, you know, as a potential concern to those that might live behind there. So I was wondering if you could address the need, you know, that's just my concern.
Okay, but once again, we're not dealing with a specific use. We're dealing with whether or not the I2 PUD zoning is appropriate.
Okay.
Okay.
For the noise factor, though, just I might comment, is that, you know, all the racks are electric. Today, everybody's using electric tools. There aren't as many air tools as you might think in the past. So it's not really as noisy. The compressor would be off to the side and probably semi-encased, so it wouldn't really be that noisy. Not like the old days.
I'll remove the use component of it. Anything that goes there could be 15 feet away from the residential
Correct.
use.
Correct.
Or if it's I2, it could be 40. So again, I'll just throw it out there that 40 is a little further away, potentially less obtrusive, regardless of use, to a residential use. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Yeah, I'll open the floor to the public. Is there anybody from the public that would care to make a comment about this particular matter? There being none, I'll close the floor to the public. Any other discussion?
Mr. Sula, I would just point out that that industrial park, you know, is basically on the north side of Ferndale Street, and opposite of that is a number of apartment buildings, so it would not be just this potential building that could be within, that would have that reduced setback, different than straight I-2. So that condition kind of exists up and down Grove Avenue for the south side.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from members of the?
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had looked at the same issue, but doesn't the apartment complex own the property north of Grove Avenue? Or it's not Grove Avenue. What is that street there?
That's a right-of-way, Ferndale right-of-way.
Right, right, because they have a knockout in there where they have parking. So they own,
They own half of the south half of the right-of-way.
Okay.
They don't own the north half, that's
so
still,
there is a buffer there.
there's 30
mean,
feet of
I agree.
village right-of-way
What's that?
for a part of it, and then for the other part of it, there's 60 feet of right-of-way.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, that's a good point in that the residential is not directly contiguous to, doesn't abut to the I-2 PUD.
And how wide is the right-of-way, Tracy?
Right-of-way is 60 feet, so that western portion is a half a right-of-way, so that's 30 feet, and then the eastern portion would be the full 60 feet.
Okay. That's an excellent observation. Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, a motion in the form of a recommendation to the village board would be in order.
I'll make a motion to forward a favorable recommendation on the petition of Imports Unlimited, Inc., Dave Scheid, for a zoning map amendment to rezone 4015 Grove Avenue from C2 PUD to I2 PUD.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Paff. Any discussion? Could we roll call, please?
Yes.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. As you may have heard, we are a recommending body to the village board, and the village board will make the final decision on this, and staff will let you know when the village board will be hearing the matter. So good luck with your project. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is another public hearing, request by the Gurnee Community Church located at 4555 Old Grand Avenue for several special use permits related to signage. Audrey?
Yes, so Gurnee Community Church special use permits at 4555 Old Grand Avenue. The subject site is zoned C4 district and is surrounded by residential uses and Gurnee Fire Department to the north, residential uses and vacant village-owned properties to the south, residential bank and offices to the east, and a park to the west. Some background on the existing signage. Currently, there are two freestanding signs on the site. The first is an internally illuminated double post sign located in the southern parking lot along Grand Avenue. The sign structure predates the current code and is approximately 14.75 feet tall and 50 square feet in area. Both height and area exceed the code. The second is an externally illuminated double-post sign located north of the church building along Old Grand Avenue. The sign also precedes the current code and is non-conforming to the minimum setback of 10 feet and landscaping requirements. The current code allows only one freestanding sign per lot. The subject site is comprised of 8 parcels, but both of the existing signs are located within one same zoning parcel. Therefore, they are non-conforming with the maximum number of signs allowed per lot. Mr. Matt Laska of North Shore Sign, representing Gurnee Community Church, is proposing to replace the existing sign along Grand Avenue with a new sign that is internally illuminated, two-sided, and is mounted on double poles and a masonry stone base. The sign will be 14.75 feet in height and 76 square feet in area. The sign code allows for a maximum height of 6 feet and area of 15 square feet. Therefore, approval of 2 special use permits for the sign height and area will be required. The sign also includes a 36 square feet electronic message board that will require approval of the 3rd special use permit for this sign. In order to minimize the electronic message board impacts on surrounding residents, the petitioner has committed to meeting the same standards as the past electronic message board signs approved in the village. These standards are enclosed in your packets. The second sign that North Shore sign is proposing is a monument sign proposed at the northeast corner of the site. The sign will feature an internally illuminated single-faced sign cabinet attached to a masonry stone base that would match the building. The sign will be 6 feet tall, which meets the code, but 27 square feet in area, which exceeds the code and requires approval of the 4th special use permit. Both proposed signs include a manually changeable reader board at the bottom of the cabinet to reflect the church's website and operational time. Here are a few considerations for the PZB. For sign number 1, the first one, the proposed height will be the same as the existing sign, which has been at this location for over 60 years. The sign will be located within the 100-year floodplain, and additional height would help keep the electronic message board higher than the potential water levels. The petitioner has offered to remove the existing double post sign along Old Grand Avenue, which is approximately 15 square feet in size, to compensate for the additional sign areas that they are requesting. Removal of this sign will make the site conforming with respect to the maximum number of signs allowed. Number 3, for the PZB's reference, Gurnee Community Bank's sign across the street from the church at the northeast corner of O'Plain Road and Grand Avenue is approximately 30 square feet in area. That also exceeds the C4 district's maximum sign area allowance. This sign was installed in 2006. Number 4, there are single and 2-family residences to the south and east of the site that would have direct visibility to the electronic message board proposed along Grand Avenue. Number 5, staff has received a letter in opposition to the requested special use permits from the property owner of the residential lots to the south that you have in front of you printed. Number 6, for the PZB's reference, a church is a permitted use in all residentially zoned district in the village. If the church was located in a residential zoning district rather than C4 district, the church could have had 1 monument sign per street frontage up to 40 square feet in area and 8 feet in height. Please note that the Planning and Zoning Board must make a recommendation on the requested special use permits, and the Village Board will make the final determination. The applicant is in the attendance to answer any questions that the PZB may have.
Okay, thank you, Audrey-Ann. At this time, I'll turn the floor over to the applicant. Please use the microphone. State your name.
Yeah. Hi there. My name is Matt Laska. I work for North Shore Sign. I also have with me Gary representing Gurnee Community Church, as well as Tom Wood, who is representing Watchfire, who is the manufacturer of the video board, to answer any questions about that. Adrian pretty much said everything I had planned to say, so I'll keep this brief. As far as construction of the 2 signs, the main sign right here you guys are looking at, this would be replacing the main sign on Grand Avenue. The top portion reading Gurnee Community Church with the logo there, only Gurnee Community Church and the logo would be illuminated. It would be a metal cabinet that we would route all the lettering and logo out of and back with a plastic, and then lit with internal LEDs. So it won't be one big box on top of the video board lighting up, it would just be the individual lettering and the logo. Then below that, obviously, you have your message board, which Tom will get into a little bit. And below, where it has the tagline panel there, is the same as the ID portion, where only the individual lettering is going to illuminate as well. And then, as for the bottom, you have two poles right there with aluminum pole covers. These will be painted with an acrylic polyurethane similar to automotive paint. So this will especially help whenever in the case of flooding and stuff like that. So it won't be all rusted on the bottom from the rainwater. This helps preserve the life of the metal, as well as the masonry base you have on the bottom, which would be the same stone as what is currently on the church. As for the second sign, that's what it looks like imposed on the site right now. But as for the second sign here, we are looking to do this on the corner of O'Plain and Old Grand Avenue. This would just be facing the fork in the road right there, so it's a single-sided sign. It'll be the same stone that would be on the church, as well as an internally illuminated cabinet as the main sign you just looked at, with the same style where only the logo and the lettering would be illuminated. Then the tagline where it says gcchome.org and the Sunday worship time, that would be a individually mounted panel that can be changeable if down the line anything with the church and worship times and all that kind of stuff changes. So it is something that would be replaceable in that way. And then you have this sign, and I did not mention on the first sign, but you have individual raised lettering for the address. Those would just be non-illuminated letters. So I would like to turn it over to Gary, who is representing Gurnee Community Church, just to talk about how important this would be for the church and all that stuff.
Hi, I grew up in that church. I've been in Gurnee all my life. I am the Director of Buildings and Grounds at this point. That's why I'm here. The main sign, this corner sign would be new to us. The existing sign on the north side of the building is rotting. It's wood, it's rotting, and I'm holding it up with wire until we can get approvals from everybody, and then that sign's gonna go away. And then we'll rely on this one that'll be on the corner. The main sign, the message board, we've had many people over the years come to be members at that church, having read messages, service times or events or different things that have gone on at the church by seeing that board. It's gotten to the state where it's too hard to repair anymore. And I know the village doesn't like that sign. So we're trying to spruce the place up a little bit and have something that looks better. We did just recently change our logo, so we want to be able to present that to the community. Our location, we're totally committed to being part of the community. We have after-school programs that happen at the church. There's many outside groups that meet. AA meets there. Families Anonymous meets there. We have many activities. So we're a very busy church. And the more we can get the message out, the more we can keep growing. That's all I got.
Thank you. Would like to start, Liliana?
Just a comment and a question, a very informal comment. Well, my comment is I do like the look of the sign and the visibility. It's great, thank you. This is my personal comment. I think I'm going to miss the funny messages that he used to put there. That's the only thing, but I do like the visibility and the looks.
We haven't had as many because the sign has been difficult to change, especially in the wintertime. The letters freeze and we can't change it. Our intention is to go back to doing those because that's part of what people had the attraction to come to see us. So we still want to do that.
Yeah, the only comment I'm going to make is I appreciate the fact that this investment's being made to upgrade the signage. Obviously it's in disrepair, and I think the spirit of our sign ordinance, we're always looking for opportunities. We tried to create an environment that encouraged those be willing to reinvest in their signage and improve it. So it's maybe on the large side, but I also understand that it's a busy thoroughfare, which requires an appropriately scaled sign, I guess. So anyway, I'm just going to say that I appreciate the fact that the investment's being made.
there is a difference in the size of the sign, but it's minimal compared to the size. It's very much, very close to the same as what's there now, size-wise.
Okay, thanks.
One issue I have is, I don't see the address being on the side of the sign as a good option, or it doesn't, I can't imagine people actually seeing that, because you have to be at the edge of the sign. That's on the one with the message board. It almost seems to me like that should be at the base of the sign on the brick, just like it is on the top of the brick on this one.
I would say the only thing with putting it on the base is because you can't really see from the photo, obviously the drawing also, but the sign that, it's going in the same exact spot as the current sign, and there is a down slope right there. So the base, putting the address on the stone is possible, but it would be very low to the ground. Very hard to see from the street. It would have more visibility on the cabinet, even if it is on the side versus just on the stone.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Because if you look at the base is only about 2 feet tall. So you would be, if you put the sign even or put the address letters even at the most top point, from the bottom of those letters to the ground, it'd only be about 18, 20 inches.
Right, but where's the address now? I mean, you can't see it at all.
On the side facing the road.
Right, right. I don't know. It's just not it's not a deal breaker for me, but I don't think we've let anybody else do that. Even the sign we looked at on Greenleaf, that was what I thought they were trying to do, but they were not. That was it was vertical on the front of the sign, which could be done on the post on here, I suppose.
I have a different perspective.
You do?
Yeah, I'm questioning whether or not we even need to have the number on that sign at all, because 4555 is the number that relates to Old Grand Avenue, right? So it's kind of confusing in my mind, to have it on a sign that's along Grand Avenue.
Okay,
So,
that makes sense.
I mean, I'd consider doing without. So, okay. Dane?
I think the one comment that I had, I know the sign is going to be approximately the same. The LED is going to be different, and I was just wondering, the ordinance as it stands is that the LED is off between like midnight and 6 a.m. There are residential properties around that. Is there any way that you could work with either the church or your neighbors to have it maybe go off a little bit early, like 10 o'clock or something, so that it's not intrusive to your neighbors that this is illuminated until midnight?
Why don't I actually have Tom from Watchfire come up here, because he can also explain that, as well as the other obvious issue is brightness, especially on such a busy road, so he can explain that a lot better.
Before you do that, I just want to clarify, are you talking the LED portion at the very top of the sign, or are you talking the message?
The message board.
You're talking the electronic
The message board, yes, correct.
Okay.
As far as capabilities, we can obviously do that. We can shut it off whenever, they determine or you determine. It's just set in our software, start at this time, end at this time, and it could be blank. You could also make it a static image with maybe a black background from like 10 to midnight or something. So there's different capabilities that we could do. It's basically a playlist, and it'll run however you tell the playlist to run. So if you tell it to flip and change images, it can do animations, it could be static. I know there's a whole code about what we're supposed to follow. We can follow that. Obviously, he can talk to what they would do after 10 o'clock, but our software is capable of like changing images from, 6 in the morning you said it was, till 10 at night, and from 10 at night to midnight, it could do different things as well if you wanted. So if you wanted to shut it off, it could. If you wanted to be static, maybe with a black background or something so that there's not flashing, it can do that. If you want to have it off, it can be set to be off from 10 to 6 in the morning. So brightness-wise, we're going to put a photocell on it, so it'll auto-adjust its brightness and dim. It can dim down to 1%. So we usually set our photocell so it's 1 lumen over the ambient light around it, so that it'll auto dim down to that brightness at night. So it's brighter than the outside light, so it doesn't look too dim. It can do that at night as well, but you need to have the brightness during the day. Obviously, you're fighting sunlight. That's why it's so bright, but if there's any questions about that, I can answer that, but if not, I can turn over your other question to him about
Dana, that's it.
operating.
That answered my question. So you are able to do that. We'll just have to.
Yes.
Maybe the church will be able to work with their neighbors. And the only second question or point that I had was the sign that's going to be on Old Grand and Old Plain is internally illuminated. And, you know, it's just an observation, there aren't any other internally illuminated signs on Old Grand Avenue at all. So we would be breaking some protocol with this sign on Old Grand Avenue if, you know, if we go that route. And I drove up and down, maybe I'm wrong, but I do like it. I like the sign, and the old one is certainly shown its age and has done its work. And it would be a nice addition to that area, just an observation there.
Questions? At this time, I'll open the floor to the public. Is there anyone from the public that would care to make a comment about this project? There being none, I'll close the floor to the public. I want to make sure we get in the record that the restrictions that are being proposed for the electronic messaging board portion of the sign are completely mimic other ones that we put in place in the village, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I think it's important to have that stated for the record. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question. We were talking about having them remove one of the old signs. Where is that old sign at? I don't see it spelled out. Is it in place of the sign?
It's roughly,
It's the wooden one,
where's
the wooden one on Old Grand.
where's Old Grand Avenue? It's roughly over here somewhere.
Okay.
On the north side of the property, directly across from the fire station.
Okay.
It's this one, I think.
Do you have an issue with removing that?
No, it's falling apart.
That's the one he's holding up with wire.
Yeah,
He
no, we're ready to
can't
get
get it
rid
down
of it.
soon enough.
Right.
That's the one that's the wooden sign?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And,
it's
may
it's
I add-
tired.
May I add something? Sorry. So the removal of that sign is necessary because they are not requesting any relief from number of signs on the lot. So if they want to keep that one, basically they will need a relief for the number of signs when they want to replace the existing sign along Grand Avenue, because that would be the second sign in the same zoning parcel.
Okay.
So because they said that they are willing to remove that, they are not requesting that relief for the number of signs.
Okay.
Okay. So we're assuming that it's going to be gone,
Yes.
That's part of the deal.
right?
All right.
Okay. Any other questions or
Just,
comments?
yeah, just one last one. The Grand Avenue sign, what I have in my memo is that the bottom portion of the sign is similar to the old Grand Avenue sign, where it will be manual in terms of being able to change that out. Is that accurate, or is that not accurate?
So, yeah, the same portion that says the worship times and all that stuff,
Yes.
that is still changeable as the second sign.
Manually?
Yes. So it would basically, not manual, when you say manually, like the individual letters and stuff like that, it's not one of those. It would be replacing the whole panel.
Okay.
So that panel right there, it says GCC home, and so if they ever say, let's say, worship time was 10 o'clock and
Yes.
noon, the whole panel would be replaced.
And you would be replacing that, or they can do that themselves?
We would have to replace that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? If not, it'd be appropriate to go through the motions one by one. Go ahead.
Motion one, motion to forward a favorable recommendation on the petition of Matt Laska with North Shore Sign on behalf of Gurnee Community Church located at 4555 Old Grand Avenue for a special use permit to allow an electronic message board sign in substantial conformance with the attached signage plan, subject to the following additional conditions. Number one, No portion of the image may flash, scroll, twirl, change color, or in any manner imitate movement. Number 2, the electronic message board sign must have an automatic dimmer and photo cell which shall constantly monitor ambient light conditions and adjust sign brightness accordingly. Number 3, the use of bright white backgrounds for electronic message displays is prohibited. The use of any amber color for the electronic message text on a dark background is encouraged. Number 4, all portions of the electronic image message must have a minimum duration of 30 seconds. Number 5, the electronic message board must be turned off between midnight and 6 a.m. Number 6, the message duration in condition number 4 above will be reviewed by the village board in 6 months from the date of approval of the special use permit to determine whether it should be adjusted. Number 6, the minimum height of electronic letters, numbers shall not be less than 6 inches as to make the sign easier to read. Number 8, the transition time between messages will be instantaneous. Number 9, the entire message will be contained on one screen. There will not be any two-party messages or continuations. And number 10, the electronic sign will have a resolution of 8 millimeters.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Nordentoff. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
Number 2, motion to forward a favorable recommendation on the petition of Matt Laska with North Shore Sign on behalf of Gurnee Community Church located at 4555 Old Grand Avenue for a special use permit to exceed the maximum freestanding site height allowance of 6 feet by 8.75 feet for sign 1.
Second by Mr. Nordentoff. One minor discussion point. Do we want to make the 4555 optional on this particular sign?
I'm fine.
I'm
either
fine with
way.
that.
Staff fine with that? Okay. Can we amend the motion? Just,
Sure. A motion to forward a favorable recommendation on the petition of Matt Laska with North Shore Sign on behalf of Gurnee Community Church located at 4555 Old Grand Avenue for a special use permit to exceed the maximum freestanding sign height allowance of 6 feet by 8.75 feet for sign 1 and excluding the requirement for the letter numbering on said sign 1.
okay. Second. All right, roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
Motion to forward a favorable recommendation on the petition of Matt Laska with North Shore Sign on behalf of Gurnee Community Church located at 4555 Old Grand Avenue for a special use permit to exceed the maximum sign area allowance of 15 square feet by 61 square feet for sign 1, subject to the existing sign along Old Grand Avenue being removed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
Motion 4 to forward a favorable recommendation on the petition of Matt Laska with North Shore Sign on behalf of Gurnee Community Church located at 4555 Old Grand Avenue for a special use permit to exceed the maximum sign area allowance of 15 square feet by 12 square feet for sign 2, subject to the existing sign along Old Grand Avenue being removed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. As you know, we are a recommending body to the village board. The village board will make the final decision, and staff will let you know when that meeting will be held. And thanks for improving the look of the place.
Yeah.
Next public hearing is for property located at 3437 Cheyenne Road. Who has this one? Autrian?
So, Mr. Scott Kranz, on behalf of Ms. Pamela Niels Johnson, is requesting a variation from the district's dimensional standards regarding the minimum lot area requirement for the property located at 3437 Cheyenne Road. The petitioner's ultimate plan is to subdivide the subject property into 2 lots. The property is zoned R2 district and shall comply with the minimum lot width of 100 feet, lot area of 15,000 square feet, and all building setbacks. The subject lot measures 245 feet wide and 125 feet deep for a total lot area of 30,618 square feet. The site is improved with a 1-story residence with a detached 2-car garage that meet all the R2 district's dimensional standards as of now. The current property owner also owns and resides at 3438 Cheyenne Road, which is across the street from the subject site. The owner purchased 3437 Cheyenne in March of 2024 with the intention to subdivide the lot, rent out the existing home on the eastern portion of the site, and keep the western portion vacant for the family's passive recreational uses, such as children's playing area or picnicking. The lot is part of the North Shore Highlands subdivision that was originally platted in 1925. The house was built later in 1962. The size of the subject property allows for a 2-lot split in compliance with the R2's minimum lot area and width standards. The current owner intended to follow zoning regulations, however, a plat of survey was not initially available to her. Around the closing time, the current owner obtained a plat of survey. Once staff reviewed the plat, it was found that the existing house is situated close to the center of the property, which precludes a code-compliant subdivision of the lot. In order to meet the minimum required interior side setback for the existing house, the separation line had to shift approximately 15.5 feet toward the west, leaving the western lot 1,625 square feet deficient in area. If the house had been built only a couple feet further to the east, the subdivision yielded 2 lots over 15,000 square feet, and a variation would not be necessary at that point. In order to avoid a substandard lot, the owner was open to reconfiguring the separation line in a manner to meet all the R2 dimensional standards, but staff was not receptive to creating irregular shaped lots and directed the petitioner to file for a variation. Per the zoning ordinance, a variation is purposed to provide a narrowly circumscribed means by which relief may be granted from unforeseen applications of this ordinance that create practical difficulties or particular hardships. Accordingly, staff supports the variation request for the following reasons. Number 1, the subject site fits 2 conforming lots, and the location of the existing house has caused a hardship to subdivide the lot. Number 2, the hardship is not self-imposed, as the house has been in existence since 62 years ago. Number 3, using the property solely for one residence, which occupies less than 5% of the lot, is impractical and imposes a financial burden upon the owner. Number 4, the village's comprehensive land use plan envisions medium density residential classification with 3 to 8 dwelling units per acre for the northeast side of town. This land use classification supports smaller lots and higher density. Number 5, smaller lots are consistent with the established and evolving character of the neighborhood. And number 6, the petitioner has made efforts to offer other alternatives to meet the zoning regulations to avoid requesting a variation. The PZB must make a recommendation on the requested variation, and the village board will make the final determination. The applicant is in attendance to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. At this time, I'll request the petitioner come to the microphone and
Good evening. When,
excuse me, sir, you need to state your name for it.
oh, I'm sorry, Scott, last name Kranz, Kranz.
Thank you.
When we purchased the home from the seller had told us that the west lot, there was, that she had checked and had thought that there was room to subdivide or divide the property. And at that time, we did not have the plot of survey at that time. And then as time went on, and of course, then we closed on the home, got the survey, and then realized that we were a couple of feet short of subdividing that land, the lot. So I'm asking for the variance of the, what, 10 feet? Yeah, 10 feet. The property right now, though, has never looked better. It's been fertilized, cultivated, aerated, I should say. Looks like a park there now on the west end. You know, we want to have a couple of times a year a family gathering, put up a volleyball net, badminton. So that's what we're going to use that property for. It is a rental home also as well.
Questions from staff?
You plan to fence it? Just that one question. You plan to fence that, divide it with a fence?
No, I have not made plans to do that, to put a fence up.
Me?
Yeah.
I don't personally have an issue with it. I think the lot is plenty big enough. It's not a huge variation, and it looks like an empty lot right now. So it's like it would fit a home to me.
Okay. Dave?
Yeah, my only comment, I'm in agreement with this comment. I mean, so really, we're not even moving as far as would be required. Still, we're getting a larger lot than what would be R3 standard, just a little short of where the R2 standard. Is that accurate?
Correct. It's 13,000 or 14,000, near 14,000, so it's just short of the 15,000. R3 is 10,000.
So I think that this is a very reasonable.
Just following up on that, what were the pros and cons of doing an R2 with a variation versus rezoning to R3?
We actually looked at that. It could have been done either way. The fact that R3 was about a block away kind of led us down the path of variance. If there was closer R3, we probably would have pursued that. Ultimately, this area will be R3 at some point. We just felt that there could be more resistance from the neighborhood if they hear R3, which, as Mr. Nordentoff pointed out, has 10,000 square foot lots versus 15,000, even though most of the lots in that area already have homes on them of 15, some 13, some even bigger than that. So the chance that the character of the area would have changed if it was rezoned to R3 probably isn't very likely, just because somebody would have to tear down multiple homes and then assemble and re-subdivide. However, just the perception of the smaller lots, we felt there could have been some resistance to that, just due to the distance away that there currently is R3, being a block away, and only in a couple of areas is it a block. In other areas, it's much further away. So we thought that this was a safer approach, at least at this point. If we start getting multiple requests for variances up in this area, I think at that point, then we have to say, you know, this might be the time where we're at a point where we should probably be looking at R3 zoning versus variances.
Okay, thank you. Liliana? Okay.
I have one more question.
Sure, go ahead.
If this was R3, how many homes could fit on that property?
With the existing home and its location, it would be the same situation. He would
Without the
own-
existing home?
Without the existing home, he could, if he tore down the home, he could get 3 lots out of
Three,
it
that's what I
versus
thought.
2.
Okay, all right.
All right, I'll go through the formality of opening the floor to the public. Is there anyone here who would like to make a comment on this particular matter? There apparently being none, I'll close the floor to the public. Any additional discussion? If not, a motion in the form of a recommendation to the village board would be in order.
Motion to forward a favorable recommendation on the petition of Mr. Scott Krantz on behalf of Ms. Pamela Niles Johnson for a variation to the R2 district minimum lot area standard of 15,000 square feet to allow creation of a 13,375 square feet lot located at 3437 Cheyenne Road.
Second it?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Could we have a roll call, please, Joanne?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. As you heard at the other matters, we are a recommending body to the village board, and staff will keep you apprised in terms of when the village board will make the final decision on this matter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next meeting on the calendar is scheduled for June 5th. Do we have anything contemplated?
Yeah, as of now, we don't have any public hearings for that meeting, so we may receive any, minor exception or parking modification, but not a public hearing for that meeting yet.
Okay. Not on the agenda. I found out shortly before the meeting started that Tracy's retiring at the end of this month, so this is her last meeting.
No,
So,
not allowed.
So you got a replacement for you, right?
Audrey, she's very good.
gonna
It's
handle
been
the
a,
meeting
it's
by
been a
herself?
pleasure working with all of you, and it's been, 32 years, 32
Wow.
years?
yeah.
32 years, so.
That's
It's an-
cool. It's an institution that's retiring here, folks. So,
Yeah, I know. In the village.
Thank you.
yeah, you'll definitely be missed here, but good luck in the next chapter.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll open the floor to the public. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make a comment about anything that wasn't on this evening's agenda? If not, I'll close the floor to the public. A motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
We had a tie. We'll give it to Mr. Nordentoff. Do we have a second?
Oh, I'll second it. Oh.
Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. And enjoy the upcoming Memorial Day holiday.